Welcome to Football Discussion Daily. My name is Joe, and I'm here with the co-host CGO or George. We are releasing this on 28th of May 2026. If you like us, please like us and subscribe to us. We release every day on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and other platforms. In the news, we have Richmond Kickers lose to Chattanooga 5-0, obviously the biggest game of the day. We also had the Conference League final in which Crystal Palace beat Rayo Vallecano 1-0 behind a goal from Jean-Philippe Mateta. We had some transfer rumors happen in the last couple days. We have Anthony Gordon. There's rumors of him going to Barcelona from Newcastle. There's renewed rumors about Ederson, the Atalanta player, going to Manchester United. That one's a lot more concrete than the Anthony Gordon one. And we have Andy Robertson. There's been rumors about him swirling about Tottenham in January and last summer. They've reemerged for him. Tottenham seems slightly more likely than potentially Juventus, which we talked about earlier this week. And of course, there's a rumor that Luka Modric, one of the greatest players of the last 20 years, will announce his retirement after the World Cup. He is 40 years old and was still an excellent midfielder, George. George, let's start with the Europa League final. I watched a bit of this game, not the entire thing. I saw the goal. From what I saw, Adam Wharton was all over the place. The goal was him. He drove through. He had a huge amount of space to drive through. He took a very good shot that Mateta kind of cleared right into Mateta, who got lucked into a goal. He was in the right good position, but he was fantastic today. George, what do you think about him as a player? Do you feel like he's ready for the next step up on a club career?
Well, honestly, Adam Wharton was very, very exceptional in today's game. I was wondering what the guys from Rayo Vallecano were doing, the midfielders, allowing him to drive. They gave him so much space, and what he did was immediately he had the opportunity, he had to take the shot, and then the goalkeeper of Rayo Vallecano, Batella, punched the ball, and then Mateta was so quick in his reaction to kick the ball into the net. So that was a quick one, because that kind of reaction, you don't see it from a lot of strikers. Some strikers, it would have taken them unawares, but he shows his level of awareness, and that was what helped him to put the ball at the back of the net. The issue is that Rayo Vallecano, they had all the possession. They had more possession of the ball, but at the end of the day, they didn't really use much of the ball, the possession they had.
I didn't see too many clear-cut chances from Rayo Vallecano. Like the best other chance in the game was also a Crystal Palace chance.
Yeah, the one from Michel in the first half. That was one of the. In fact, that was a better chance than what Mateta even had, because I was expecting he would have nodded the ball into the net, but he missed that opportunity. Even the coach, Oliver Glasner, was even shocked that the ball didn't get into the back of the net. The reality is that Rayo Vallecano didn't create much. They had all the possession, and since it was something tactical from Crystal Palace, they allowed them to have the ball. But they made sure they defended very well. So Crystal Palace were very defensively solid today. They had three central defenders playing at the back. It was a 3-4-3 tactical formation, and it worked out for them. They were able to.
Chris Richards is a big loss for them. I mean, they tore his ankle ligaments. I believe he was still selected for the U.S. squad, but he tore his ankle ligaments against Brentford. They rested him so that he didn't get injured, and then he got put on with like 20 minutes left, and had to take off an extra time. So that's a shame for him. Hopefully, he's good for the World Cup. But he has been a stalwart for them, an American player all year, been fantastic. And they had to take him off. And George, big news, Mark Gahey, I believe, gets a Conference League medal, right?
That's a lucky one for him. That's football for you. I think everything has to do with the rule of the game. But congratulations to Crystal Palace, because what it means now is that out of the 5 editions of the Conference League, we have 3 London club sides winning the Conference League. So we've had West Ham United, a London-based club. We've had Chelsea last season, a London-based club winning the Conference League. And now we've gotten another London base club, which is Crystal Palace. So
I already have my 2028 Brentford Conference League champions tattoo right here, George. So I'm really excited for that, and it's going to be great if it follows the pattern. George, you didn't really answer my question on Adam Wharton. I'm asking you about his performance this season because, again, from what I saw, he was the man of the match today.
Yes, he was the man of the match.
Do you feel like he is a player that could make the jump in his club career, or do you feel like he needs more time? He's been talked about as a great player, one of the drivers of Crystal Palace's cup successes the last couple of years.
Adam Wharton is a very good player, but sometimes you can't really tell how very good a player is until they move to a bigger club, because the pressure a player will get at Crystal Palace, you can't compare it with the kind of pressure they will face if they are playing for the big clubs. Because at a big club, you just have to be consistent in your performance. So you are not allowed to switch off. You are always expected to do very well. So if, for example, if he moves to a club like Chelsea or Liverpool or Manchester United, Arsenal, a lot to be required of him. So that would be a very big test for him. But I think he has the potential, because if you look at the way the tempo of the game today in the midfield, in fact, he was like in charge of the midfield today. It was too obvious that the guy was the most exceptional player on the pitch today in the game between Crystal Palace and
he's
Rayo
very
Vallecano.
young. He's 22. I typically think that Adam Wharton, like today, when he's at his best, is as good as any midfielder. The difference between him and a Rodri, the difference between him and a Caicedo, guys who I think are elite midfielders, are doing it every single week for 60 straight games, like twice a week for 60 straight games. Like, a lot of young players, the difference between a young player that becomes great and a young player that just is at Crystal Palace's entire career, is that consistency of stringing together great performances. You see it all the time where a 17-year-old puts on one great performance. That is not Adam Wharton, and he's not able to get that consistency, and people think, oh, he's capable of it once, he should be capable of his entire career. And that's just really hard to do at an elite level against professionals. Like, you have a professional player has 50 people studying his tape all week to say, how can we negate this great player? And they constantly have to reinvent themselves in order to be successful. So I do think Adam Wharton is capable of that, and he'll do great. I do think an extra year without pressure would be great for him, the chance to develop at Crystal Palace and have those games that aren't quite as good. I say this as a player. I watch like guys like Michael Coyote, Igor Thiago every single week, and at their best, they're as good as anybody, but I've seen them have enough bad weeks where I'm like, this guy would get slaughtered if he went to a higher pressure club. So, be careful what you wish for. I do think Adam Wharton is right on the up and up. I think another year would do great for his development. He was left out of the England squad for Jordan Henderson, who famously has one of the highest floors, in my opinion, in terms of performances as a player from his time at Liverpool to today. Again, just the definition of high floor player. So, and he raises the stakes for every single other player.
Are you one of those who are questioning Thomas Tuchel for not adding him into the squad? Because I saw a lot of criticism online why they didn't add Adam Wharton into the English team for the World Cup.
If they're going to take a player out, first off, Thomas Tuchel knows more about football than you or I, and he has information that you or I don't have, and he is a very good manager, and so I'm not going to be critical of him. If you're going to take a player out, take out Maino and put on Wharton, right? And I think the difference between Maino and Wharton is splitting hairs. I think Maino is the same thing. At his best, he's been great the last couple of years, but he just hasn't strung together consistent performances, and it's a little more visible at Manchester United than at Crystal Palace. But I think they'll both be great players and have awesome careers. And I think that if Tuchel had put Wharton in instead of Maino, I'd have no problem. I don't think that either of those players are going to get time, because their midfield is going to be Anderson, Rice, Bellingham, and Henderson's going to be, whenever Rice or Anderson need a break, it's going to be Henderson. I don't think Maino's going to get any time, and Wharton wouldn't either. So this is my personal opinion. If they're up, they'll put on Henderson.
But the issue is that Maino is playing for a bigger club than Adam Wharton, who plays for Crystal Palace. And if you come to think of it, Kobe Maino made a lot of impact helping Manchester United to finish third in the Premier League. So that already is an advantage for him over Adam
But
Wharton.
today's performance by Adam Wharton is better than anything Mano. Adam Wharton was the best player in a European final today. Adam Wharton raises his game in cups. I think that he really it's the weekday game against Brentford in the league where Adam Wharton is not as good. In the higher stakes games, I feel like Adam Wharton raises his game, which makes me think that he will be an elite player in 2 years.
Yes, I think
Mano will be too. Mano will be too. They both will be. And I'm just saying, I think that there's splitting hairs saying one is better than the other, is my personal thought. George, let's move on to Anthony Gordon. There's been rumors about him from Bayern Munich. There's been rumors about him for Liverpool. There's been rumors about him for Barcelona. His agent is doing a lot of work right now. I think Anthony Gordon's a quality player, but the kind of the money that's being thrown around is quite a lot for a guy who I think that the most goals he scored in the Premier League is like 8 or 9 or something like that. He scored 6 goals the last 2 seasons, and a couple of those are penalties. I think he's a great player, but I don't know. Do you feel like let's ignore the price, George. Do you feel like he could fit in at Barcelona, at Bayern Munich, at Liverpool, and not skip a beat? Do you think that he'd be up to that level?
Well, the information I got is I think he has reached an agreement with Barcelona. I think
he has personal terms agreed, but Barcelona doesn't have money.
Well, what we're told is it's going to be 80 million euros for Anthony Gordon. But one thing I think would help Anthony Gordon, if you watch him very well, Anthony Gordon is very good when it comes to pressing. And that's the way Barcelona plays. Hansi Flick likes his forward players to press very well because that's part of the way they play their game. Because most times they play high line. So one of the ways to stop the opponent from really taking advantage of the high line is for them to press very well. And that's one quality with Anthony Gordon. We've seen many times where he has done a lot of pressing. I think against I think it's the last season, not this concluded season, the one before this concluded season. I think against Arsenal, there was a kind of press he did that made Raya to make a mistake, and Newcastle was able to get a goal. We've seen him do such things many times when it comes to pressing. So I feel that will help him, and he's a very versatile guy. Sometimes he can play as a false nine, and he can play from the wings. So I feel he has the energy, he has the quality for him to fit into the Barcelona system.
Yeah, I think the most comparable player analysis. I don't think he's quite as good, but I think the most comparable player is Luis Diaz from last year. This guy is a good player. I think he can be the level of Bayern. I mean, Luis Diaz is the 4th best player in the Bayern attack and is still an exceptional player. That's not to say anything about Diaz, but he doesn't look out of place in a front line that's Kane, Olise, Musiala, Diaz, and I do think that Anthony Gordon can go to Barcelona. I think this move says that Barcelona do not want Rashford. I think it's really interesting because Rashford is going to be probably higher wages than Gordon, but lower transfer cost. And obviously Rashford's older, but obviously Rashford has familiarity with the club and the players and the coaching staff. So I do think that maybe this is leverage used by either Gordon's agent or Rashford or Barcelona against Rashford to say, hey, like, we have options here. We don't really want to spend all these wages on you, Marcus Rashford. So, which is interesting. I tend to think that Marcus Rashford, stylistically, if you can keep him motivated, is a better player and is more capable against teams that play a super low block that Barcelona sees all the time. When Anthony Gordon is much better in a counterattacking side due to his play style and pace. It's just my personal thought. Marcus Rashford is a little bit better of a playmaker, a little bit better in possession, even if Gordon is better at pressing and maybe a little faster. So just personal thought, but I think it's good for Anthony Gordon for moving on in his career. I know that there's rumors about him for Liverpool, about Bayern Munich, so it'll be really interesting to see how his career evolves.
Yeah, so the issue is that I'm surprised that Barcelona is not keeping Marcus Rashford. But later, when I thought about it, I think it might have to do with the wages. I don't think Barcelona will be willing to pay that huge amount of money weekly for Rashford. So I guess that's the reason why they didn't go ahead with him. If not, Rashford is a very good player, more
But George,
experienced than Anthony Gordon.
what's really interesting about this move is that like Anthony Gordon, I'm not sure he would start on Barcelona. Like they have Yamal and Rafinha, who are both, in my opinion, better. And so, yeah, they're losing Lewandowski right now, but they they have other forwards too. They have Olmo, they have Torres, they have.
But I would choose a Anthony Gordon over
That's Ferran Torres.
Ferran Torres. Sorry,
But
thank
they
you.
have Danny
Ferran.
Olmo. They have Danny Olmo. They have a number of options, in that spot. And I'm not sure that Gordon, in and of they don't. I'm not sure they need the depth, and I'm not sure Gordon offers qualities that these guys don't. They don't already have on their bench. So, like, I don't doubt that Gordon's quality, but I do think if I'm Barcelona and I have $80 million or 80 million euros, that this is maybe not the best spot area of my team that I can improve. Is maybe what I'd be thinking, but. Yeah.
Well,
George, let's move on
let's see how
to.
it goes.
There's rumors too about Luka Modric retiring. He was at Milan last year after many years at Madrid and a couple years at Tottenham. He has had an exceptional career. Is he the best midfielder of the last 20 years? Your thoughts?
Well, if it comes to his position of a playmaker, I think I would choose him as the best in the last, let's say, 15, 20 years.
Okay.
When it comes to playing the playmaker role. One thing I love about Modric is his level of creativity. He has a very great vision when it comes to creating space, creating opportunities, giving the nice passes. That guy is very, very outstanding. It's one player that I was very unhappy that Chelsea didn't get because I knew there was a time Chelsea wanted to get Luka Modric.
I
And
think Daniel
then,
Levy refused that. Like they
yes,
agreed on terms. I think Modric might even had a release clause, and then Daniel Levy is just like, nope. What about? I think George. Let me know your thoughts. I'd personally rate Iniesta probably a little higher. It's splitting hairs though. They're both two of the best midfielders. Like I just remember watching Iniesta and just being like, he had same quality as Modric. Modric had complete control of a game. Like when the game they need to push, Modric is pushing. When they need to defend, Modric is like saying, "Oh, let's slow down the pace of the game." He's always available for a pass. He's always running. One thing he has that quality that I was talking about Jordan Henderson, where Modric is always telling players where to go. Last year when he was 39 playing at Madrid, sorry, a year ago, not this past year, but guys like Bellingham and Camavinga and Tchouaméni, like we're all listening to Modric and telling him where to go. And when Modric was off the pitch, those guys often looked lost and didn't really know what to do. That's the qualities that Modric brings, and Kroos also brought to that Madrid midfield that I feel like they're sorely missing. So I just think that he'll have such a good legacy, and everybody from a character perspective all say he's the greatest dude. So just a very big loss for football, but we've had 20 years with them, so it's been a great journey.
Because currently I don't know if we have any midfielder as very good as Modric and Andres Iniesta at the moment. I don't know if there is any player currently that plays the way they play, very skillful. They can dribble very well. When it comes to creating scoring opportunity, they are just there. So
there are
those guys are very
midfielders.
outstanding.
There are midfielders who stylistically are like them, like Zubimendi is. He's not the quality, but he absolutely stylistically is like that. And I always like watching him play. But those two are just, there are not many players in football history as good as Modric and Iniesta.
But if you look at it from the creativity aspect, these guys were very, very creative. I don't know if somebody like Zubimendi is at that level of creating opportunities for players. Maybe if we can talk about maybe Bruno Fernandes of Manchester United is the one that, at least in this present era, we've been seeing him trying to create things, but still not at the level of Modric or Andres Iniesta. Those two guys were in a different level.
I tend to think of Modric and Iniesta as more of eights a true eight. They can do anything because they're so quality they can play anywhere, right? But they're true eights. When Bruno Fernandes, again, he's quality, so he can play an 8, he can play a 6, he can play 4, but he's a 10 in my opinion, and he's an attacking midfielder. But of course, he's quality enough that he can do whatever the team needs. But that I feel like at their core, he's not a guy who you don't sign him to do the metronome of the game. So let me end with our standard questions, George. Number 1, Adam Wharton. Is he going to be off this summer? Is he going to go to a giant club? Is he going to be the next great English midfielder? Number 2, Anthony Gordon. Do you feel like he's going to Barcelona or Bayern or Liverpool? Do you feel like he's the quality of those top clubs? And number 3, is Luka Modric the best midfielder of the last 20 years, or is Iniesta? And is there any midfielder today that has the potential? I do think Pedri has that potential to be that good. I don't think he's there yet, but of all the midfielders I see, I think Pedri on Barcelona has that potential. Let us know your thoughts. Thank you for listening.